Ambassador Zekthara of the Vorthak Confederation had seen many things in her 3 centuries of diplomatic service across the galaxy. She had witnessed the crystalline cities of Andromedans rising like frozen music from their ice worlds, observed the magnificent hive-mind orchestrations of the Keplerians, and even survived the ritual combat ceremonies of the warrior poet Draknari. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for what the humans called movie night. The invitation had arrived through standard diplomatic channels. Earth's newly appointed galactic liaison, Director Sarah Chen, had extended what seemed like a casual cultural exchange opportunity to the assembled alien dignitaries stationed on Luna Base 7. "Come watch some of our historical documentaries," the message had read in cheerful standard galactic. Light refreshments provided. Zekthara had accepted, curious about human historical records. Her species, the Vorthak, prided themselves on their comprehensive archives, perfectly preserved holographic recreations of their most significant moments. She expected something similar from humanity, sanitized educational presentations suitable for interspecies relations. The theater was modest by galactic standards, a simple room with comfortable seating arranged in ascending rows. 12 different species had gathered, herself representing the Vorthak, 2 floating ethereals whose translucent forms shimmered with anticipation, a delegation of 4 armed Nexari diplomats, and others from various corners of the galaxy. All of them seasoned ambassadors, accustomed to the peculiarities of different civilizations. Director Chen stood before the assembled group, her expression unusually serious. "Tonight we're showing you something that might be challenging. These are not exactly documentaries, but they're based on real events from our history. They're what we call war films. The translation algorithms in their universal communicators struggled with the concept. War, they understood, every species had conflict. But war as entertainment, as art? The idea seemed contradictory to most galactic civilizations, who viewed warfare as either a regrettable necessity or a highly ritualized affair with strict codes of conduct. The lights dimmed and the first film began. It was called Saving Private Ryan, and within the first 20 minutes, Ambassador Zekthara felt something she had never experienced in 3 centuries of life. Her breathing membranes contracted with what humans might call horror. The opening sequence, the humans called it Omaha Beach, was unlike anything in galactic military records. Other species fought wars, yes, but they were civilized affairs. Honor duels, technological supremacy contests, or ritualized territorial disputes. This was different. This was young humans barely past their species' adolescence, charging into certain death not for glory or territory or resources, but for an abstract concept they called freedom. Around her, she noticed the other ambassadors shifting uncomfortably. The ethereal's natural luminescence was flickering erratically, a sign of deep distress in their species. One of the Nexari delegates had covered 2 of his 4 eyes with his hands, though he continued watching through the other 2. But it wasn't the violence that disturbed them most. Violence existed throughout the galaxy. It was the waste, the beautiful waste of it all. Here were humans, a species that had barely achieved interstellar flight, throwing away their precious short lives with casual heroism that defied every evolutionary survival instinct. They died for strangers. They died for ideas. They died for people not yet born. The second film was Paths of Glory, followed by Apocalypse Now, then Come and See. Each one a different perspective on human warfare, each one more devastating than the last. The humans had somehow managed to document their own capacity for both creating and enduring hell, then turned those documentations into art. By the 4th hour, Ambassador Zekthara noticed something unprecedented happening in the theater. The ethereals were weeping, actual moisture precipitation from their energy forms, something she had read was theoretically possible, but had never witnessed. The Nexari delegation was huddled together. Their usually perfect posture collapsed into protective clusters. But most shocking of all, she realized she was weeping too. Her species didn't cry, hadn't cried in millennia of evolution. Yet here she was, her advanced tear ducts activating for the first time in her 3-century lifespan. When the lights finally came up, the theater was silent except for the soft sounds of beings from across the galaxy, trying to compose themselves. Director Chen stood before them again, her own eyes red-rimmed. "I apologize if that was difficult to watch," she said quietly. "But you asked to understand humanity's place in the galactic community. This is who we are. We fight wars that destroy us. We sacrifice everything for principles that exist only in our minds. We turn our greatest tragedies into art so we never forget how terrible we can be to each other." Ambassador Zekathara found her voice first, though it trembled with unfamiliar emotion. "Director Chen, in all my centuries of diplomatic service, I have never encountered a species that documents its own barbarism with such beauty. Most civilizations hide their shameful periods." "We can't afford to hide from ourselves," Chen replied, "because if we forget what we're capable of, we might do it again. And next time we might not survive it." As the alien dignitaries filed out of the theater, Zekathara heard something she had never heard in galactic diplomatic circles, species after species, in their native languages, expressing the same sentiment that required no translation. Peace. They were all calling for peace. Not the careful, negotiated peace of trade agreements and territorial boundaries, but something deeper. The desperate peace that comes from finally understanding the true cost of war, not in resources or territories, but in the irreplaceable uniqueness of consciousness itself. The humans, it seemed, had achieved something impossible. They had made war so terrible that even hardened galactic diplomats from warrior cultures were moved to tears. And in that moment, Zekathara understood why the galaxy had been so peaceful since humanity joined the Confederation. It wasn't because humans were peaceful, quite the opposite. It was because they had shown everyone what war actually looked like when stripped of glory and honor and ritual. They had made everyone else afraid of becoming human. And perhaps, she thought as she walked through the corridors of Luna Base 7, that was the most human thing of all.